and one we intend to win. We choose to go to the moon.
All right, welcome to the 166th episode of the World Blockchain Roundtable. Our hosts for today are I am for I am, or William, or I'm for I'm. Welcome. Satoshi Sean, everyone's best friend. So here we have Greg from Rivet, and Lisa Mighty Davis from the Mighty Lair, and I'm Joe from Dragon Chain. And we're still missing John, an old joke for a jokester, that he's still lost in the tunnels in New York. So if anybody gets down there, check it out.
What if he's going to
Like
from the
you?
tunnels in Israel?
Is that, do they connect all the way?
Yeah.
I just see.
We thought you were out trying to find him last week.
Yeah, we thought you were.
Maybe since, if Sean's
unfortunately not.
comment is true, BB's here, so.
That's a good point. Maybe I would have thought they would have flushed the tunnels out for his arrival. Sorry,
you would think.
Too far. We're going to lose John any potential for making it up there. Anyway, first a quick update on the World Blockchain Roundtable Lair ownership tokens, the NFTs distribution from last week's episode. Every host from last week will receive 22 lot. Every topic contributor, 5 lot. Last week's theme was nominated by Y'all Weird, who will receive 5 lot. These ownership tokens come with perpetual passive income, free edits, and governance votes. Something to note, in case anyone noticed, X, without, and maybe they did, but we didn't see an announcement before it happened. They required a premium account in order to stream. So this hasn't been going out over Dragon Chains, at least last week and of course today. So we're gonna get that turned on, but I'm back in town, so I have to arrange, because I don't ever log into that account. So we have to set it up to pay for a premium, whatever. I don't know what level we have to get.
$7 a month. You have to do at least the $7 a month level.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna do that. And it should I think 90% or more of all of our views came from X, because or counted views. We know a lot more people watch it on YouTube than get counted, because over on YouTube, I think that everyone is 1/5 of a citizen or something similar. So you don't get counted over there apparently. And we lost Greg on that. But either way, he'll be back. Here he is. Here's Greg. Okay, very good. And
talking about Greg, he's back.
Yes. We have another update. We have a theme vote for the month of August. Top 5 will be selected. Apparently, there are 5 weeks in August. I keep forgetting to get in and make some proposals for these. Every month, I forget to do it. But either way,
I held
so
back.
we have. First up, I will go through them so everybody can kind of decide what they want to see. Fake tokens and scammers, how to clean up blockchain. One voter so far, Jacob Wayne, has weighed in on that. Has AI stole blockchain's center stage in funding? I think that was up last month. Didn't make it.
Yeah, didn't we do that last month? Okay.
No.
I don't think we got to it.
I don't think so. That's a good, yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's important. Blockchain and quantum computing. What if Bitcoin Core agreed to expand the block size? I am for I am has weighed in on this one. It's almost 10%. Roger Ver's case update and its effect on blockchain. Could we get him on, Sean, if we did this one?
He said as soon as he has this stuff behind him, he'll be happy to come on.
Okay. Oh, geez, that's gonna be years, isn't it? Anything with the government?
No, he's paying. Just gonna,
Oh, okay.
He's
True,
waiting for his Mt. Gox tokens to be released.
I kind of doubt he had anything sitting on Mt. Gox myself.
I think he did.
Really?
He did. Yeah.
I don't know. It surprised me because that was my biggest thing when I first discovered Bitcoin and I bought stuff from Mt. Gox. When I purchased stuff, I didn't leave it there. I wasn't trading. I brought it home. I brought it back to my wallet. Why would you ever leave something on? That's what it's about. And it blew my mind that you had the president of the Bitcoin Foundation. You had all these big Bitcoiners that are like, not your keys, not your tokens, and then it's like, but your stuff's on Mt. Gox. How's
And
that
they
possible?
duped him when he went to their office and was looking at the bank statements. They duped Roger.
Did they?
Not surprising.
I don't remember that. That's probably in the book, isn't it?
I just remember the video where they used that against him in 2017.
Wow. Okay. Layer ones versus layer zeros. And by the way, anytime he can come on, Sean, let him know. Right?
Yeah.
Whatever it makes sense, I wouldn't want to bring him on to something that you would care about or whatever, but it'd be great to actually meet him. Then last, can blockchain save jobs lost to AI?
Way to go, time hoarder.
Horrid, scary new tech stuff.
Will it lose? Will it cause jobs to be lost in the first place? Is another interesting question.
Yes, I think that's part of. Yeah, that would be part of it. That's what I would want to talk about too. That's awesome. So great set though. Let me vote it up. And let's see here. Then we go straight over to the actual theme of the week. Will governments allow privacy tokens and coins? Sorry, privacy coins and tokens. Episode 166, weekly episode.
Did you say how much lot people got from last week?
What's that?
Did you say how much lot people got from last week?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I did.
That's a lot of lot. I don't know why I never made that joke.
A lot. Yep.
Sorry.
That's half the reason we named it that, right?
Yeah.
There's like, there's a lot, I guess. I don't know. I think what is it? Let me tell you in the real quick, just a side note. And I closed my main page so I could have pulled it up right away. But here it is.
So I got us a live stream going, guys, on X. If you find
nice.
Design Heretic, you can still watch us live on X.
Thank you very much. In fact, if our producer is watching, maybe she can retweet it from Dragon Chain's account. That would be great. Let's see here. There are, just to note, there are 280 million NFTs created on Den so far. 182 layers.
That's amazing.
So anyway, okay, let's see here. I will now go back to the prep. And are you guys ready to go here? Do you want to share anything in advance? I mean, there's nothing going on in the world, really, these days.
No, there's nothing in the world. So privacy, we're on privacy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to matter, I think, right? Coming up.
The interesting starter point actually might be to define privacy. I mean, what do you guys think it means?
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah, let's go. Who said? Greg, you start.
Well, my take is ripped direct from the Cypherpunk Manifesto, and the idea is essentially that privacy is your right to exclude certain parties from knowing things about you or knowing things that you're sharing, right? It's not anonymity. Anonymity is having a perfect secret where nobody knows it. Privacy is the right to selectively reveal oneself to the world.
Okay, nice. I like it. And William is in full anon mode with his lighting in the studio.
Always comes to mind for me on the definition of privacy is the folks that say, well, I don't have anything to be private about, so it doesn't bother me. I don't care. It does, and
while you're wearing clothes, right?
Right. People forget, why are there doors on the bathroom? Why do you have, curtains in your bedroom? All of these kinds of things. Well, why do you want to have confidence in your conversations, maybe with your doctor? Or why do you want your financials to be kept secret and not be open to the public?
Why not put the clinical scale for everybody on the front door, like outside of their hospital, so they don't get weighed in at the beginning? They share their weight with the world. Why not?
Exactly. And then the next and last item I always like to point out is, well, maybe you're content with your government. There are those in some countries that certainly are not, and they need to have privacy to voice their discontent for their government or point out corruption, Hey, how about whistleblowers? Shouldn't whistleblowers have some privacy? And when we spend cash, isn't that privacy, and isn't that a form of freedom of speech? So I'll yield the rest of
That's a
my
good
time
point,
to
too.
someone else.
Well, I have something to ask then, if you guys don't care. Does it exist at all? Because if we really knew what Peter Thiel and what's Palantir and those guys are actually doing, and it's not even our government. It's a private it's private industry working
It's a
with governments.
governmentality. It's a
Well, yeah, they're
governmentality.
sharing it. They
Yeah.
use governments to get in, but then they're sharing it or selling it to
But
other
time out,
governments.
Joe. The initial funding came from the government, from the CIA.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I know. They were the ones that made it possible, but it's the weirder thing that a lot of people think. Okay, a lot of people pretend like they're not listening to our conversations. There's like, oh, I'm. It's like the 50s, and I'm an American citizen, and I can talk about the president any way I want. But they're tracking it. They know what you're talking about if they want to know. If you show up on a radar, if you
Right.
put your head up, and what's worse, though, is even the people who are red-pilled about that. I didn't even quite realize how far it was internationalized, that these governments use it in ways to bypass their own constitutions, or it's like if a European
yeah.
country needs to know
Yeah.
something about a European, they'll go ask the
That's
American
what
government.
the Five Eyes
Israelis.
Alliance was all about doing.
Yep.
Because
Yeah, Five
Brits
Eyes,
can-
the Australians. Yep.
Brits can unrestrainedly spy on their populations and the world.
Yep.
So if we give any information at all about people who are not British citizens to that government, they'll trade us, right, for them spying on us.
Yep.
Yeah, we pissed off some couple European countries because it's like we gave the Brits information and they gave us on like one of their neighbor, and they were like, "Hey, that goes against," because like we're not a part of any kind of like EU treaty thing, but they were, but like they went around it with the Five Eyes thing, and it was a big
right. If you want to see the empire, if you really want to see the empire, this is the part of it you have to understand in order to see it.
Yeah. So there's some crazy stuff. So anyway, I do think Mr. X, a made up word. I do tend to agree. Okay, so
all words are made up.
Is it always comes down to force in my mind, that I've kind of in the past few weeks have, like, the law is not really the law unless you can enforce it. Your rights aren't really your rights unless you can enforce them or defend them. So it's the ability to enforce the unwarranted intrusion to any part of your life or anything that you own or control.
Yeah.
Lisa, what are your thoughts on privacy and the definition thereof?
Oh, you're on mute.
Oh, you're muted. You're muted.
Okay. So we're here at Nana's. It's a little noisy, so I've been muting. But what are my thoughts on privacy? I mean, I think you guys have all spoken really well and hit a lot of the points. I don't think we have privacy, and I think we know that. Like, I remember being afraid when my babysitter for my two oldest kids signed me up for Facebook, and I was like terrified. I had this fear of pushing the button and saying yes and putting myself out there, and we don't have that fear anymore. Everybody is, opting in. They say that the IRS is not really mandatory, but that we opt in. We've opted into losing our privacy, and they've normalized it, through social media and
So
all
privacy
those
is
things. And so they don't even have to spy on you anymore.
Yeah.
You serve it up on a platter. What would you like to know
you
about
pay
me?
for your Alexa and your Google Home stuff. It's like,
Yeah.
Right.
Don't forget the
Well,
little
but-
robot that maps your house.
Well, I think what
so
you
that
guys
when
are
they
saying,
bust down
though-
the door, they can, know where to
And
find
what you
your
guys are
dog
saying,
first.
though, is that privacy can't exist in a universal sense if there's no anonymity.
Potentially.
I
Because
don't
if
know
you had
that the two are exclusive, yeah.
in a given
depends.
context, right?
It
In a
does
given
depend.
anonymity-
You could totally, you could go live in a cabin and not participate in any of this online stuff, and you don't have to be anonymous because you just don't exist as far as
Unless someone shows up with an Alexa in their pocket. Right?
That's true. That is true. There was I can't remember the dude's name. He has a YouTube channel and he goes around various weird parts of the country and interviews people and stuff. And he went to somewhere in, I believe it's Tennessee, might have been Kentucky. And this dude had lost his birth certificate in a flood, had no social security number, and he lived out on the farm. He was barefoot. You know, he had a little stagecoach. He wasn't Amish, but he worked with the Amish that were nearby. And it was so cool because, you know, he's like, yeah, he just goes out in the field and he gets some vegetables and he comes and he cooks them and he you know, bathes in the freaking stream there. And it's just like, that's your choice. You could do that, which would, you know, it's actually somewhat attractive. It'd probably get old pretty quick.
That's what a lot of the homeless community is too, though.
Yeah.
They choose not to participate in society. And so because of that, then you don't get the services and you know, the privileges of a comfortable life.
Like, maybe it's the way to be. Maybe can you be the equivalent of homeless but have a home? That'd be what I would prefer.
It's more private, but you got to remember there are satellites flying overhead, right?
Yeah.
And people
if they really wanted to find him, they could drone him within a week.
Oh yeah.
And homeless people have phones. They have, you know, smartphones now.
Well,
it's so weird to me. You can go on YouTube and hobos have YouTube channels where they're like, it's the whole subculture. It's fascinating. They have a government, they have, you know, laws, and they vote a king of the hobos like every year or 2 years. They have like a convention. They have a graveyard up in Minnesota or somewhere where all the kings are buried. It's so. But they're like, hey, I'm jumping on this railroad, and they can do it right on their phone, and then they have channels with like thousands and thousands of views. It's crazy.
It's fascinating.
Wow.
One last thing is, you know, hey, if we really didn't care about privacy, then everybody's vote would be registered and listed in public for everyone to see.
Right.
Yeah.
You would have written your name on your face mask when they force you to wear it.
Well, I think Greg made the point that people want anonymity, they don't care about privacy, they care about anonymity, because if you don't have that, you'll get your ass kicked, you know.
Let me caveat
saying crap to people, you know, you won't be civil, you know.
Let me caveat that. I think people need a right to anonymity in order to exercise a meaningful right to privacy rather.
I agree with
So that's if you don't have anonymity, then privacy ultimately only exists so long as nobody comes trying to figure out who you are.
Yeah, I think there would be no Antifa. I think there would be no, you know, whatever the Fed group was that came out of the U-Hauls.
And there might be no United States, though.
If they couldn't be masked and have that anonymity, they wouldn't.
What was their name?
They would do it.
What was their name? I can't remember their name.
The Fed
National something. Wait, for something front. Patriot Front or something like that? I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
They're all Feds.
Not National Liberation Front, I'm pretty sure. That's somebody else.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Okay. Should we go ahead and get to the questions?
Do it.
That was a good intro. Thank you, everyone. I was looking for a meme, and of course I can't find it because it doesn't have whatever. The search sucks on that. Okay, let's see here. I'm going to.
My producer just turned on the light. My producer is my right.
Oh no, hand. You're exposed. You have to give your voice changer needs to also be okay. So I'm refreshing it.
Light switch had a good privacy disclosure on it.
Okay, so let's see here. I guess I have some decent memes, but I don't have as many maybe as last week to come up. So let's not do questions.
I sent a couple in our Telegram group.
Sweet. Okay. Oh yeah, I got it. Okay.
Well, pen at the ready, by the way, when we get there.
Right on.
I'm looking out for you, buddy.
Right on. That's the way. All right. So, okay. First up, question from Dayrox. Do they have a choice? Do governments have a choice whether or not they allow privacy coins? Let's start with William.
Well, I would like to say no, they don't. That would be the preferred answer to Derek's question. Is I would prefer that the government don't have a choice, but their choice to be able to regulate how we access, say, a privacy coin or token, is essentially how they can cut that market out. If we're sticking with blockchain, and let's go with like say Monero or Zano, Zcash, or Litecoin and BCH, Bitcoin Cash, all have privacy functions or privacy options. I think the way they would try to prevent them from being used is access to those sites or whatever. And
If
they're
they
certainly
can,
using it to cut down the use of it by limiting how you can spend those coins or tokens, and by kind of killing the market, they essentially control it. And that's how they that's their choice. They're choosing to prevent you from having the option to use privacy coins and tokens.
Right. Well, they denormalize privacy generally, right? The problem is broader. It's that it's not that you can't access Tornado Cash because they said so, right? It's that because there's only pseudo anonymity on the blockchain. If they decide to try to track down everybody who uses Tornado Cash after they create illegal, then there's the threat. So simply the threat of enforcing against privacy protection is enough to chill the use of privacy protection tools.
Right. And then the last I would say is that government is moving in the opposite. They're the direct opposite of privacy. They're looking to more being a surveillance state, and to ultimately usher in CBDCs, which, we're at the 9th inning and there's several outs and we're down a run or two. So we, from stopping a CBDC from starting. So that's your surveillance state right there. And the, antithesis of privacy. There's my answer.
All right, Lisa, what do you think about
that? What was the question? Does government have the choice
to stop it?
I mean, I think exactly what I am said. It's all about the access. They can't stop you from using a privacy coin, just like they can't stop you and I from trading a physical asset or bartering between the two of us. But it's the reporting, and then it's all about the license. They have put themselves as a middleman in place of businesses, and they're not allowed to function as a business in that jurisdiction without paying the fee, the license. And so they can set rules around that licensing. So.
Yep. Sean.
Absolutely. They absolutely have the choice. They have the power. In the end, they can kill you or put you in a box or take away your children, for your grandchildren. They can do terrible things to you. They can't stop you, which I think we all agree. Like, you can still, but they have the choice, and then you have to make the choice where I'm gonna accept the risk. I'm gonna accept the consequences of going against that. But yeah, they have. I mean, and I think the question is kind of, we looking at it as the United States government. When you talk about surveillance state and all that, if you look at like
the Purple Empire,
Britain or other places, it's much worse. And it's I just saw this Paul Joseph whatever.
PJW, man, you looked him up.
This guy, he was just putting out pamphlets that said, "Hey, all this migration is bad." It was there were no violence. It was just, this is a bad thing. He was arrested for hate speech, 2 years in prison, and then they had the news where they went undercover, supposedly, and there was a guy that was for Nigel Farage, and he said, "Man, we should go out on the beach on the weekend with a gun and just start picking off all these migrants." And the news said the police looked at that and it's not a hate crime. And people were saying that he was a plant, it was fake, it was like it was all a scam. And obviously, it was because they weren't going to arrest this guy, but for this other person, they put him in jail. So in the end, governments can they always have the choice.
There's no law. It's all arbitrary. Greg, did you already answer or
no? The way that I would answer this is, yeah, you still have a right to privacy. They can't stop it entirely. What they can do is they can shove it to the fringe. So, and if they wanted to really stop it, then the thing they would have to do is something that right now nobody is prepared to accept. The water's not that hot yet. The frogs are not that close to a boil. That is the direction, right? That said, right now, anybody sophisticated enough to self-custody their own tokens is sophisticated enough to generate a bubble of privacy for a particular purpose. There's no such thing as a perfectly defensible system. No anonymity is unassailable. But you can make it so expensive to come after you that unless they know who you are already, they're not gonna. Yeah. And that's the best you can do with privacy today. That's why most anons on Twitter, or X rather, have the ability to stay hidden from anybody who's on the platform. But the second you say something that crosses a line, like the magic words that will summon a Secret Service agent to your door, unless maybe the Secret Service isn't that competent anymore. You can say something about what you'll do to the president on any medium, and you'll get to meet some NSA and some Secret Service types. But so long as you play the game the right way, you can still have privacy temporarily in a bubble. And that's what I would say is, like, if you want to seek that out and you want to learn how the tools are there, and I'd be happy to help if anybody wants to know.
Right on. And I would say, on and off ramps, and something that wasn't mentioned that is prevalent and has a huge effect is fear and network effect. That is, you and I might be able to interact with a privacy token or even a non-privacy token, but if the general populace, the person you pay rent to, or the your grocer is scared to use stuff like this because of the government, they don't want to mess with it, then it greatly limits our ability to actually use the technology, right? And that's why the number go up thing has, of course, had some positives to get attention, but it's been largely it keeps people from using. You look at Bitcoin itself. Nobody uses Bitcoin because it's like, no, it's sinful to use Bitcoin. It's the craziest goddamn thing in the world, right? But it's a lot of it's fear and a lot of it's manipulation, psyop stuff. There's a bunch of crazy stuff. Did you see even recently? I did not know this. Coinbase has been closing accounts for political reasons. Did you know that?
Really?
I did not know that. That blew me away. There's some stuff.
No surprise.
It's mostly the ones that it popped up on. I think it's happened for other politics, but the one that it has popped up on recently is the whole Free Palestine movement. So anything anti-Israeli, anything pro-Palestinian, Gaza can get you through. And by the way, I don't know why. Coinbase won't let me trade, right? And it's because of the SEC stuff, I'm sure. But they've never told me. They won't tell me. So I still have an account there, but I can't do anything with it, right? So it's kind of crazy.
Are you locked out from deleting your account?
That's a possibility. I haven't looked, right? I was like, I kept it open just to see if I can figure out, will they turn it on when we win? And then I give them the the full.
Require a special petition to one of their bureaucracies.
Apparently, you have to know somebody. I have to show my blood or give them my blood or something like that. Okay, let's see here. Next, a question. I will go in here. I will do this. Time hoarder. Okay, so I'm going to read these in full so that it gives everybody but we'll try to get through them all. Governments would have to eventually allow, as it is just another crypto system they are not in control of, similar to the ways and means that elites and those savvy enough to hide their wealth. The governments will push people to file additional paperwork to prove that their wealth is legitimate. Want to buy that house? Is it over X amount, a government set threshold? Then prove through a paper trail of provenance of your assets leading up to the purchase amount, With public crypto, it'll be easier for the government to prove and or match amounts as they have access to the on-off ramps. Question: what would the government do if privacy coins and tokens are legitimized? Another example of privacy attacking is the new BOI, which is the FinCEN beneficial ownership information filing for corporations and LLCs due at the end of the year with penalties for not filing, adding
So they
the
kill that
many
before the
other
end of the year.
forms businesses must file or face penalties list. I didn't even know about that. I don't know what the requirements are there.
I know a bit about that actually.
Crazy. So who wants to? Oh, Greg, you go first. What's the? And,
They would wail and gnash their teeth, basically, right? Like that's exactly what would happen. Is they would come up with ways to minimize it. They would culturally target it. It would become immediately politicized if they were legitimized, and that's good. Actually, that's good for its existence because, as we've seen, as soon as crypto got politicized, we finally got some defenders in the policy arenas that we needed. And without that, without the politicization of a thing that has been legitimized. At least for a small subset of a politically empowered group, right? We're going to have some power because of that. I think that is ultimately how privacy coins get appropriate penetration.
Okay, Lisa, what do you think? I'm going around this.
I don't know. I mean, I'm so tired of asking permission for somebody that I'm told has no power over me, or that I'm told that they work for me. It's just it's really frustrating, and so I guess it gets to the point where the revolt happens or the revival. I don't know which way you want to. I guess it depends on how full your glass is, but hopefully we the people make a different choice and stop asking permission.
Yep, that's a good point. That's a very important point. Sean, who is muted. Sean, what do you think? What would the government do if they were legitimized?
I think, to me, for the past 100 years, it seems that governments are the ones that legitimize things. So to say, I can't really remember the last thing that was like legitimized by people.
You think? Well, anyway, I'll let you.
No, I'm trying to think. Like I mean, there's certain things like X,
social media.
We call it Twitter. Like no matter how much they try, or Facebook, they're like, no, it's Meta now, and people were like, no, it's not. It's Facebook. It's X. It's X. And even when someone calls it X, it's formerly known as Twitter. It's like X.
Yeah, he does the XFKA Twitter. That's
so, but there's very little that has that like legitimacy. It comes from the government, and if it's something that people, then it doesn't matter. If it's if you can make it legitimate, or the government aren't the ones to make it legitimate, then they don't really matter. If you kind of understand that, like Lisa said, if the government's not the one making it legitimate, if it's some odd thing, then people don't really care enough to get permission.
Right.
It's the way it is.
Well, and then they seek out the governments to legitimize it. Think of gay marriage. Like, go do what you want to do, but why are you asking the government to make it official for you? And you did the same thing with cryptocurrency. I went to the Bitcoin. In fact, this week is Bitcoin 2024. I went to one of them years ago. It was like Bitcoin Jesus running around there. It was like kind of cypherpunk kind of. Then you go to these last few years, it's just a big legacy finance conference.
Yeah.
You want
bunch of
govern me harder.
Ties. All your ties are stupid, by the way.
Yes. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I'm with Sean.
Yep. William.
I can't believe I'm the first person to say this. I'm too legit to quit. No. So anyway, I think the whole idea of legitimization can happen, like Sean said, it's not just the government, it's actually the market. And things like cannabis come to mind, that has grown to a point now states allow it, but the federal government laws on the books still call it a Schedule 1 drug or whatever it is. I don't know.
Right. And the preference cascade long took over, right?
Yeah. So the marketplace can actually win this war in that the market will determine what is legit and what is not legit, despite what the government might try to do or try to push to the side, suppress. And so I think when Time Hoarder's question here is, what would the government do if it's legitimized, then the people are basically telling the government, no, it is legit, and we're going to go down this road, and you're just going to have to suck it up. Instead of the other way around, where the government said, this is the law, suck it up. Well, things are beginning to change because of our distrust in our establishments. And so the market determining what is legitimate. And when I use the term market, I'm just saying, not necessarily in the case of, number go up or price point discovery, whatever you want to call it. I'm talking about the market as in adoption. So that would probably be my answer. It's almost like I care not what my government deems legitimate. I care what the market says.
Right. They get to decide whether it's a proper white market or if it's a black market. Right. They get no other choice but to either drive it underground or not.
In thinking more about it, the things, whenever people legitimize something, governments cower, that they back down. Everything did. The thing I can think of is, we're all saying Joe Biden is a potato. He is a complete vegetable. And, so many people were saying that. And then once the debate happened,
it happened the day before the debate, Sean.
But it became the everybody, like even people that were just like diehard to like no, and then all of a sudden, the media changed, the border. It was it was just a certain sect of people, and the government is like, no, this is the way it is. It needs to be open border, and then all of a sudden it's like, we're going to lose our power and our authority because the place where it comes from, they've legitimized it. So now all of a sudden, that was one of the goofiest things ever. How the administration was like, "Oh, we're all for closing the border," and it's like, "What? No, we've been having a battle with Texas. They've been defying the government. It's really been kind of crazy that whenever the people or some outside force legitimizes something, the government just follows suit right away because they know, oh shit, you're gonna get how much power they really have.
Funny thing is, they don't ever actually fix that actual situation. They just create a binary opposite to split people on that movement, whatever it is. That happens over and over again every damn time.
Right.
And speaking to Lisa's asking for permission, I mean, how many of you had considered or at least thought, you know what? I mean, if it weren't so hard to move, I would move out of this damn place. I would leave this freaking country because it is so rotten right now. I mean, it is so invasive. And, not that other,
I was going to say, name a country that isn't.
I think you probably go somewhere in Asia that would be
always South America.
Phenomenon.
South America.
But when I think that, I feel very guilty.
See, but that's what's wrong. It's like, why would you be guilty for thinking? I understand. I feel like, God,
because you're giving up on your country. You're giving up on fighting. You're just like, nah, it's too much. I'll come back after the.
I would feel potential opportunity cost loss. That is, I think that how do I say this? Opportunity loss. That what's coming is going to be glorious, I think, and it's like I want to be here for that, right? But as it is, if we're going to keep going down this route, it's like, man, this is really not what I signed up for when I was born. when I had that choice. So it's just kind of a crazy thing. It's we don't have what we should have here, and Kim.com keeps saying that it's the end of the empire, but I think it's the end of the republic. I think
Yeah.
the empire is coming, and it's going to be a crazy time. So
I would be
anyway.
inclined to agree with Kim.com. I think we see less of the empire than is actually there, and that it's been ramping up for some time. It's about to be visible. It's going to be hard to pretend to be a republic anymore.
Yeah, exactly. We haven't been a real republic, but neither. If you're comparing it to Rome, it's like the republic was not really the republic for quite a while in between.
People are starting to. That's a big thing with Trump, because with the last few, the end of democracy, the threat to democracy, and that's actually been, we're not a democracy. All the MAGA people are like, that's the first thing. We're not a democracy. We're a constitutional republic. That's what makes us different. That's what makes it different. That's what was what was different. So that is coming to the forefront, which it hasn't been.
It hasn't come though enough that they will say we were, and we should. If we're gonna, what are you trying to conserve of the world right now? If you're being a conservative, it's like,
right. Like, can you fix any of it? Can you fix
Yeah.
any of it? Wouldn't it be better to start from scratch with a
Yeah,
year-old?
I don't. I think it's so rotted that you can't fix it. There has to be some kind of restart.
Yep.
At least with many of the institutions, maybe a
Next
few of them
question.
are preserved.
All of them, Greg. Come to sanity. It's like you have to smash the
Well,
entire.
I am saying when I say that all and nothing are never actual quantities in a practical sense. I think
but targets are. If you target, I had to tell this to, by the way, in my my fellow engineers.
I haven't found it yet. But
yeah, if you say, well, okay, I'm going to look at this situation, and I know that we're never going to build that system we should build. Right. It's impossible because of politics. We'll never get there. So let's just, let's target the 20% we know we can get. It's like, guess what? If you target the 20%, you're going to get 8, right? Because of the politics. You have to target the freaking 100%
for a preference cascade.
Yeah. If you have to target the 100%, shoot for the stars, you have to say, this is what we want as the ideal. We won't get there. Everybody understands that. But if you don't shoot for that 110%, you're never going to get past the 20. So
you're talking about Hayek's observation, right? That you can't not advocate for an all or nothing thing, but at the same time you have to have the pragmatism to choose 20% when it's available, while still including
take the 20%.
Yep. But not let it mollify you.
Exactly.
But not
and so much in government though is like, oh no, it's all negotiation. So if you vote Republican, guess what? You're not going to get those things that you think you're supposed to be voting for. It's crazy. So anyway, next, I am. Interesting thought or concept. What if more and more people started using more cash, privacy coins, and tokens to hide income? What would the government do if they saw a dramatic decrease in tax revenues? Can I say a historical point here? Because I've said this for a while, and then you guys can all answer. I've always been interested in the adoption of crypto in this aspect because it doesn't mean you're doing something illegal or anything else. It just means that the government has to come to your door. Guess what they used to have to do in ancient times? They couldn't wire in your bank and see how much money you had and say, oh, you have to pay this and you have to file over the mail or whatever.
And we're going to take it in advance, by the way, and you're really going to owe the bank a negative balance because we took what we thought we owed.
They would have to come to your door and check stuff out. Even in later periods in Europe, where they would measure how many windows you had and stuff like that. It's like, here's how we determine your tax, but they have to come to your door, right? So
we tried that in the United States for a while. That's why you see in a lot of places so many bricked up windows in old buildings.
Yep. So anyway, it's good. So
William. May I go first on this? First, I want to caution the panel that what you say about taxes can get you into trouble, obviously. So, for example, if I put up a yard sign as an example and say everyone should stop paying income taxes, that would be illegal. However, if I put up a yard sign that said, what if everyone stopped paying income taxes, that would be legal, probably. All right. It still might get you into trouble or persecution in through the courts or whatever, but you'd probably be let go for
It's
free
illegal.
speech.
Is that really illegal to say the first?
You cannot encourage others not to pay taxes. So
It's
Really?
engaging in an act of
Insurrection.
incite to.
yes,
They treat it like saying, "Let's go burn down that guy's house right now" to a crowd of people.
right.
Wow.
Why?
Right.
Is
It's like burning. Yeah,
hold on, because this was one of the first things as a child that bothered me. When someone told me that if you said, "I want to unalive the president," you could be arrested. Not if you threatened a person. I understand going to someone and say, "Hey, I want to unalive you." They're threatening a person, right? But just to say, "I wish that person was dead," I wish
Right.
I
Doesn't
that
count.
to me that
John,
was,
the Supreme Court already ruled on this.
so
You
that,
cannot
You
encourage
could probably
others not to pay their taxes.
say, "I wish everyone would quit paying their taxes."
That would be enough.
yeah, but to be
Yeah.
in the United States and have to worry about those
The
words
semantics of that is total
is
bullshit.
wrong.
And
Yeah.
what it says to me is not
You could
only
end the IRS.
is law non-existent
taxes.
and
Right.
arbitrary.
Make that
It is just
possible.
whoever happens to be in power at the time gets to
Mhm.
decide shit. We might as well have a monarchy.
Yep.
It literally means the Constitution is null. It means that there is no republic. It's all fake. So
Freedom of speech is somewhat a myth. So anyway, going into the answer, the question is what if the government started seeing more adoption in privacy coins and tokens, and like Zano plug, what would the government do? And I it's kind of an interesting thought or concept because it is voting with your wallet. It's counter economics. I like that. That's agorism right there. Not that I'm encouraging others to do it. They can do so as they so choose. However, it is an interesting thought that when you use strategy and you play this out, it's could have pretty strong effect because what is it, Lisa Clint Westwood, stop feeding the vampires. If you stop feeding the vampires, they
Can I ask
shrink.
about that though? Can I ask about that? Because, and sorry to interrupt here again.
I think
Is that really true? Is that really true? Because I mean, they don't. What is it? The entire tax revenue covers how many days worth of the interest on the debt, right?
Right.
They don't actually use
We're
the
close.
taxes. I don't think it is that. I think it is literally much like many things in life now. It is a demoralization or a what's the other the
It
humiliation.
encourages obeisance. It does. That
Yes,
If you
yes.
you know for a fact that they know where you live because you have to mail it and identify yourself.
Right. But the question, my point, I guess, Joe, you're right in that, yes, it probably isn't going to make a big difference because they're just going to print the money. The president of El Salvador, his CPAC speech talked about that. But here's the point. If more and more people are doing it, then that is only one step that they believe in and one action that they believe in. But at that point, at that level, they're thinking in other terms that the government is actually not legitimate. I don't trust it to a point that I'm going to do these other things. And so it becomes almost like a marketing program, that catches fire. That's the
like
idea.
a silver squeeze thing.
Yes.
Like an act of protest.
Yes.
Something like that.
And if Trump, think about it this way, if Trump gets it passed through Congress, which I don't think so, about tips being tax-free, that's going to move everyone towards, hey, I'm going to just live off of tips. So then I have a tax-free income, right?
Mhm.
But you can do that right now with privacy coins and tokens.
Right. Well, and that's
Not
another interesting
without
question.
government,
How would they know?
Which goes back to the question like 2 questions ago. Not without government legitimizing.
How would they know
Hopefully
if it's a
Trump
true
will
privacy coin if any of their citizens are even holding it?
Bingo.
On ramps.
I used to do
on-ramps.
that. I give
That's-
the DoorDash guy $1.
So not really privacy coins then.
And then when he came, I would give him a $5 bill. And it's like, hey man, screw the IRS. There's $5. Do with it as you will. I'm not putting it. It's not on the app.
let alone Uber Eats taking taking more even than, well, maybe not. Maybe the government takes more than Uber Eats does. I don't know.
I would be willing to bet that whatever they're taking, it's designed to level the playing field between delivery services and restaurants as a political interest group.
Yeah.
Wow.
I would
Yep.
say though,
Should I go to the next one?
yeah, I
we
lost
get
my train.
them
Oh, wait, no, I
That's
lost my
good.
train of thought.
What was it?
That's all
Wait,
good.
oh yeah, no, wait, I gotta say this.
It's okay.
It resonates in Etienne Lebody, and if you haven't read this guy, what he says basically is that if you wish to defeat your tyrants, all you need to do is stop supporting them, and they crumble on their own. They can't oppress you if you stop providing the tools by which you are oppressed. Ultimately, this is probably the thing that they fear the most with crypto, with permissionlessness and immutability.
By the way, if anything happens, it's going to happen fast, because most of the issue we have right now is a massive dearth of courage. It doesn't even take. It's not like you have to be out there with a freaking sword and shield in front of these people these days. Mm-hmm. It's just, you just have to stop doing this thing, right? And until your boomer parents or anybody else, there's like, nope, it's like, they still trust the media, they still trust the government, they still trust their elected representatives.
They're using the boomer map still.
It's crazy.
One thing about this though, it's that, and I don't like to get excited about people, waking up or this is exposed or it's coming out, because I think it's just theater and it doesn't matter unless something happens. Nothing ever happens. But people are starting to question the IRS, the sheer stupidity of it. They're like, and I've seen comedians do this at first, and now it's like regular people are asking the question. It's like, how much I made. They're like, yeah, we know exactly how much you owe us. Just tell me how much it is. No, you do a bunch of forms and a bunch of math, and if you get it right, you're fine. If you don't get it right, then you get in a lot of trouble. And the people are like, why? That is the dumbest thing ever.
Well,
so, and the response is, we got guns.
On the other side, why not just tax me through the inflation? Why not just say, okay, we're not going to collect taxes, just freaking print the money. You're doing it anyway. Like what?
Well, that's the rub, right? Right now, the tax receipts are still higher than the total debt service by a small amount. It would not take anything but letting the interest rates set themselves via free markets to make that debt unpayable with tax receipts. And once they're there, hyperinflation, right? They can only print money to increase their revenue, and
it's coming.
That increases the debt, increases the service. You can't print your way out of hyperinflation.
Lisa, what do you think if more people stop paying taxes, income taxes, and switch to privacy coins or whatever? What do you think the government would do?
They just hired 84 million or whatever.
Thousand?
not million. Agents or whatever. They just kept after you. I don't know. I mean,
I heard they got enough money to run the government for 90 minutes because of that.
Oh, well, it would have to be a significant number to tip the scale. I think it'd be wonderful, but it's going to take a lot of education. And to be honest, like, people don't want to hear it. There is such a cognitive dissonance is a real thing. I mean, you try to talk to people and they just start shaking their head and closing their eyes. And, when you talk to them about the reality of how they're getting robbed and raped every day you go to work and get a paycheck, you're once again, we're opting into the slavery system.
It's literally the saying. People just want to go to work and pay their taxes and
get their bread, get their circus, get their McDonald's and get their Netflix, and that's all it is, or an NFL, whatever your poison is. But and I want to apologize to the boomers. I mean, I hate the whole the boomers and all that.
That wasn't my point, man. That wasn't my point. My point was to point to the boomer map, a concept created by Curtis Yarvin. You guys should all go read the piece where he talks about the boomer map. Because you can have a boomer mindset if you're in this idea.
It's just so much of that, and I the reason I even say that is because I mean Gen X is largely similar, but I've been pretty impressed with the TikTok. Is it Y? What is it? Z Gen that they're opening up a lot of stuff that were very much forbidden to speak about. That is going to unlock all of the all the things that are necessary in the coming decades. So that's why I was like, yeah, it's nothing. It's not really about boomers. It's just people who are still watching CNN or Fox News or whatever else, still believing what they're told by their government. Oh yeah, Joe Biden is totally he's a witty dude.
Right? Can the
What's
FBI be fixed if you're answering that in the affirmative and you're not saying tear it down and build a better one that does the thing it's supposed to do?
Why do we need an FBI?
Then that's the boomer map. The boomer map is I trust that we can repair these institutions as opposed to they need to be erased and replaced.
Yep. Okay. Next up, are the use of privacy coins and tokens an expression of speech? Yes. Are they protected as one of our constitutional rights, freedom of speech? Yes. And how is this different if I transact in cash? It's not different. William, you can answer first, I guess.
Yes, not different. Done.
Okay.
Oh, wait.
Sean.
Yes, not different.
Very good. Sean.
Yeah, I think that, but the Constitution's, like you said, the Constitution's not real. I mean, you have to get to the Supreme Court, and to get there, you have to be super rich in order for them to legitimize the Constitution.
If you want it to be legitimized for the rest of this sick government, but if you don't care, it's like theoretically, those constitutional rights are from the Creator. We don't need. I don't need the freaking Speaker of the House to call me His Excellency to be able to do business, right? That I have these rights on my own theoretically, and whether or not
the Constitution's to hold back the government, it's not to do anything to us.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
and we
what
say
everybody has it in their mind wrong. Yeah.
we say that, but then there's a guy who has a business, and someone came in to rob him, and he defended himself in New York, and then he was arrested for defending himself and his.
New York.
It's just.
Well, I think the act of voluntarily spending it is speech. Like that's the speech. The thing is itself a commodity, right? It means nothing if you only ever hold it and don't use it for anything and don't tell anyone that you have it, right?
And
it's meaningful when you convey it.
And by the way, I mean, speech is speech. I don't. Several times, if I buy a stick of gum, it's not necessarily speech, but it is another freedom. I have the, that is.
But you can politically buy a pack of gum from a certain provider of gum.
Totally. But it doesn't have to be. I'm just saying property rights are probably more important there than speech. But
right, it's the conveyance that is the act of speech.
Really think about it now, Joe. Okay. We've gotten to the point where with CBDCs, like I Am for AM brought up, that buying that gum could have huge impact on your insurance cost. Yeah. There's so many reasons that they'll track you for that information, and the people and entities that want that, your dental insurance. There's so many things. It's like you bought all this. It wasn't sugar-free gum. You had dental work done, and you weren't supposed to eat gum, and then you went and bought gum.
And now you're getting into the part where when it gets down to it, what I will be happy with is when people start calling out those actual groups and companies that are doing that shit and pushing it. That you watch Ian Carroll, and I think he's probably the best account on X because he's just a normal dude, and he's just like he brings up pretty amazing stuff that you might not know about how the financial system works or how big industry does.
The Global Alliance of Marketers or whatever, that group that X is going to sue, right? Those guys were doing it.
Yes.
Well, I think that's where I didn't get to answer.
Oh, you can. I'm sorry.
Yes. And then is it different than transacting in cash? Yes, different. And I think that's the point. That's where we do get our power back. Because as long as you're using their system that they're manipulating, you're using what you call cash. There's this meme going around right now that says, if I've got gas in my tank and cash in my wallet, I'm never going to get a CBDC and a something else. And I'm like,
using it already.
You're already using it. You're already using their system.
Where'd that paper come from, or that linen come from, right?
And you don't have any control of how many pieces of that linen there is. So, and you have no knowledge, and have no power in any of those decisions.
Now,
so that's where cash
is. Printing it
yourself is better than credit cards. Cash is closer to what you want than credit cards. for sure. But cash is still it's
But
poison.
you're still
It's-
using their
but-
system. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm
Until
saying
we
if you
opt
have
out
to
of
if you
that.
have to interface with somebody who only has cash, then it's like, okay, you take cash and maybe exit as soon as you can. I don't know.
But if you're looking at it from a privacy standpoint, cash is
Cash
The private-
cash is potentially better than
privacy
a lot of
coin
blockchain.
the system. It's the privacy coin of the system.
You can rip it in
You
half.
have to use
It can
barter,
be
and you
physically
have to
confiscated.
use gold and silver
Well,
to actually have any
crypto can be
privacy.
physical. Somebody put a gun to your
Yeah,
head.
or
Privacy is kind of higher up on the pyramid on Maslow's pyramid of ownership, though, right? Like, if they can come and get it from you by just
that's one thing.
every house.
There are multiple things, by the
Stopping
way,
every
that
penny,
and
right?
I say this very often. We don't know the viability of the cryptographic curves that permeate the entire crypto space. We don't know what holes there are that are already known. That I almost guarantee there are some. I almost guarantee that they could totally take down Bitcoin if they wanted. I might be
Right.
wrong.
It would
But
probably be like a phone call to AWS, a phone call to Azure, and a phone call to Google Cloud, and that would take care of most of it.
That's not. I'm talking about the curves. I'm talking about let's just move all of Satoshi's coins and prove to everyone that it's not secure, and then the whole thing collapses.
Nobody's done it yet.
I know, because they're waiting. If I will give,
It's amazing.
I will tell you for certain. If Russia, for instance, as an example, if Russia would have accepted, or instead of working with BRICS, if they said, "Hey, we're about to go to war with Ukraine. We're gonna just fill up on Bitcoin, and we're only going to accept Bitcoin for all of our energy products."
Mhm.
Guess what the powers that be would have done? That's when Bitcoin would have collapsed.
Right,
Until
because
something like
if you
that
have
happens,
the
there's no
right,
reason to do it.
well, if you have the ability to exploit a system with some kind of 0 day like that, you can use it exactly one time before the
Exactly.
thing gets passed.
And that's why they haven't done it yet.
Right.
So anyway,
but it wouldn't necessarily delegitimize the system,
that's-
because we already know it doesn't delegitimize money, because it happens
very
like
well
1,000
might
times
happen.
a day.
And I don't know
in
enough
regular
about the cryptography behind, like, say, Monero or the others, but when CBDCs are out, and if they are not, if they don't have approaching 100% adoption, that might very well happen. If people are it's like, oh, forget this, we're going
Banks
to
are by definition appropriating every deposit they get and loaning it out.
Yep.
Right. Like,
okay.
the
Next,
system's built on you not owning it.
Also, I am for I am. Thank you. As an agorism, we believe that participation in white, legal, gray, semi-legal, and black illegal markets is up to the individual. We advocate for achieving a society based on voluntary exchange and minimal government intervention. We like to engage in economic activities that operate outside the traditional regulated economy. We do this to undermine and eventually, let's see here, replace the state-dominated system. We believe in parallel systems. Using privacy tokens and coins in cryptocurrency transactions is a form of activism or agorism. We care not about what the state says we can or cannot do. Question: so long as it is between two consenting adults, why should we care what a government says we should or should not buy or sell using a privacy coin or token? This is the last question. So let's go backwards. Let's start with Greg.
I don't think that the government has any use in this medium. I think it serves as a breaker of free market economics, and what they do is essentially cut their nose off to spite their face. They think they're helping when all they're doing is damaging a population's ability to thrive.
Yep.
And so so long as it's between two consenting adults, we shouldn't care, right? There's no good justification for it unless you believe that is right and just for one person or one group of people to take everybody's agency and everybody's right to plan their actions and choose and take it from them and do it for them.
Yep. Okay. Lisa.
I mean, it goes back to the bartering or exchanging. Of course, I don't think that it's anybody's business if you're trading peer to peer, but I'm sure each state has some different thoughts about that.
Sean?
I don't like the way this is worded. We shouldn't care, but we should, because they're the ones that have the power. They can kill you. They can make your life terrible. They can do. I mean, I shouldn't care what my neighbor does in his house, but if he's doing something that could affect me. He's cooking meth or some kind of chemical thing that could poison me or do something. Then I should care, but he shouldn't be doing it, and I shouldn't have to worry about that. So we shouldn't.
You should have to put up better. You should have to put up better insulation if he's going to do that kind of shit.
If two consenting adults, well, it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter that if I want to do barter with someone, that I can, and that's another thing that people are starting
Couldn't
to
you pay him to stop too?
If I'm taxed on my income, and then I'm taxed when I spend the income to buy a thing, and then if I give it as a gift, someone has to pay taxes on the gift, or if I die, my family has to pay taxes on. It's like 40%. It's like, how? Like, you just keep taking and taking from this dollar, and and I turn it into this thing, and you tax me on this, and then when my family gets it, you take more and more away. It's like, why? It's a question that is starting to be asked.
Because that's how bed bugs work, right? They drink your blood.
Mm-hmm.
That's the truth. So do other types of fantasy creatures. William.
Well, first of all, sometimes the stigma of being an anarchist is like, oh, you wear the black mask and throw Molotov cocktails and, break windows. Wrong answer. The other thought is, if you want privacy and this kind of thing, then you must be like, oh my gosh, some kind of degenerate. And what are you doing, in behind closed doors? And that is, I think, a stigma that has been attached to counter, norms to working against government. It's kind of a slap on their part to discredit those. And for the record, I grew up kind of my formable years. I was a Mormon and even did the Mormon missionary thing. And so I'm pretty straight laced and I learned early in my career, shall we say, on sitting in different boards, if you had integrity and you were honest, and you were one of the only people on a board with a bunch of greedy SOBs, then you actually assumed a lot more power by your actions and how you saw things, because, well, you called it as you saw it and they believed you. You didn't have an alternative motive other than being, the straightforward guy. So that applies here too. Just because you want privacy and just because you're calling out a corrupt institution, you want to have a position of power that says, no, I believe in freedom and I believe in liberties and I believe in, volunteerism, that everything should be voluntary, and consulting adults. And therefore, that's kind of why we need the privacy, and we need counter economics to unseat the corrupt powers, the corrupt institutions.
Right. It's a check on infinite corruption, essentially.
Exactly. And so, having kind of laid that groundwork, I still believe that I care not what the government is going to say or do. While yes, I understand they have now 85,000 more agents and they have, the guns, and taxation is theft because it's ultimately you end up in a cell and with a gun pointed at you. So we have to kind of work underground, if you will, which might sound dirty to some, but I would argue that it's kind of like how this country was fought. With guerrilla war tactics rather than lining up in a line with the redcoats.
Right. There's only so many people they can hold in contempt of court before it becomes untenable to fill jails with more people.
Yeah. So that's why I believe in, as an agorist, counter economics.
Very good. Very good. That's good. I would say, we shouldn't generally care. It should be more, like what Sean said, it should matter. If it's going to affect you, that's a different thing. But otherwise, why would I care what somebody does? And by the way, something to note: you watch history, and the question started off with the white, gray, and black market definitions, and how often through history have those changed? Right? I mean, what would put you in prison for a long time under Harris's over in where was she? Where
California.
Was she?
California.
Is now legal, right? So it's just the weirdest thing. It's like, oh, cannabis legal. And that's so often, right? Okay, we're on to memes. Are you guys ready for memes and current events, right?
And at the ready, man. Get going. There's some super secret messages here today.
Let's hit the list of current events first. All right. What is the list of things that have happened? Netanyahu just spoke.
Something happened while we're on the show.
Before we jump into that, I got to share something real quick in regards to privacy.
Mhm.
Did you see where a company bought the information from Crook's cell phone data, showing where he had gone or where his phone had traveled to the gun store from his place of work to his home?
Data brokers,
because this is out there. You can actually purchase this data. A private corporation can purchase this data and track an individual, and it ties back into an FBI building in DC and where he went to Boston, this kind of thing, if that's legitimate. And I thought that was
interesting.
Fits right into our conversation and privacy and the news.
I wonder how much that data set cost and who's selling it. I'd like to find out.
Who knows?
We should have an AI. We should get a Chat GPT bot trained up on that data so that it can answer direct questions.
Yeah. All right. Sorry, Joe, to interrupt. I just thought that.
No, that's all right. That's all right. It's good. No, and by the way, I was hoping that you guys solved the case last week of whether it was legit, a false flag, an intentional inside job, or something else. Because I had some back and forth. Like, it's fun to think of the entire spectrum of possibilities.
What are you talking about?
The shooting.
Well, that's interesting. Right? That's interesting. Yeah. That's very interesting because I wanted to talk about it, but hold on, because I think he's going to lose. I think Trump's going to lose. I think the way that she got $200 or $400 million within 48 hours.
All was a transfer from Biden's.
All these things are happening really, really fast. Legal. Also, Biden texted me twice, like 2 hours before he dropped out and asked for money.
Really?
2 hours before, yeah.
I heard they were asking for money up to 8 minutes after he dropped out.
That is Bernie Sanders, right?
Well, but while we're on the show, and this is super, super interesting. We're talking about like the rewriting of history that we always talk about. They're saying that Harris was never in charge of the border. Remember, she was the border czar, which is one of the reasons why the governor here made a border czar, because it mirrored the administration exactly for Texas. So they're saying that she was never in charge of the border, so the border is not her fault. Blah 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 blah.
That's her whole MO, right? All her
but
good
she
qualities
also hasn't been to Europe
for bad qualities or because she didn't have the power.
But the Republicans, while we're talking, have now brought forth a resolution to condemn her as the border czar. So they're trying to head that off.
It's so funny. It's like, oh, that's meaningful.
They're literally saying, oh, well, she wasn't really in charge of the border. It's like
clowns.
Right, because outcomes don't matter. It's only intentions.
Yep. Jeez, it's so disgusting. No, so here's my thing. So you all go all the way from inside job. It looks like a lot's not right about what happened, right?
Yeah.
Then you go into false flag, and I'll tell you the one thing. The craziest thought I had was the whole thing was staged, right? And I'm like, okay, it's probably not. It's not very likely. But as soon as they started coming, it became more in my mind, more and more likely that the entire thing was staged and known ahead of it. And everybody's like, oh, but he wouldn't let them shoot a bullet by his head or anything else. It's like, dude, he was down on the ground. He comes up, his ear's not mangled, right? His ear's not mangled. It has some juice on it, some ketchup or something. And then they start coming out. Iran threatened to shoot. It was like, okay, give me a freaking break. Yeah, I know you want to go to war, but but now this is how you're going to get the Trump MAGA people on board with going to war with Iran. It's like he tried to kill our savior, and it's
They
ridiculous.
probably already stuck Sned at the head
In
of
my
Iran,
mind,
like, what's
that's the
that to
reality.
do?
I saw
think
stuff
that-
on X where that someone got pictures and his ear's fine.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I've seen that too.
I don't know. I mean,
I-
his ear has
So he
to.
got grazed.
Bit.
What's the deal with that? Why is that relevant? You know,
Because
I don't think it was a squid.
picture-
I don't think he was. I think he was legitimately shot in the ear. I do.
well, and some
I-
other
I
people
don't.
on site
Well,
got shot.
And I
with
also
the same
think
gun.
there was a second shooter.
Here's the thing:
Yeah.
rather
Well,
than this being
that's
a
the thing,
debate
there's
about
people-
stuff we don't know, I'm saying, is it possible? And if it is possible, and then you see Iran, it makes it more likely. That's all I'm saying, because it is so obvious that they want to go to war with Iran, that they are pushing this. So Netanyahu mentioned that it was Iran who did this.
I think it's more to do with exposing and trying to get rid of. You know, when Trump was in office, he defunded the FBI and the CIA, and that was all. I think this is just playing it out in public. Why? Because they are incompetent and we don't need them, and this is not. I think it was another way to like deconstruct that in public for the dumbed down public.
I
They
think
made them look like absolute fools. The people at Central Casting playing the agents with the girl that couldn't put her gun in, it was all to show people how stupid it is. You know,
Maybe. I mean, it does make it very clear.
To me, man,
Very
this is
clear.
about Executive Order 138815. Was it 33?
Which one is that?
That's the one. It's 13835. That was the one that basically was going to make anybody who touches policy at all that is now a part of the accepted service fireable by the executive. They're going to bring that back if Trump wins. That is literally the reason James Garfield got shot, was a disgruntled former federal employee. They enacted a law that made the president unable to fire those people for almost that exact reason a long time ago.
Yep.
I think that these people are keenly aware that the party's about up from the standpoint of being able to defy the executive or do whatever the hell they want without obeying the executive.
Yeah.
And that is that's an existential crisis for the deep state.
There's two things that I think are huge. One, and I keep thinking of, imagine if we had the internet age when Kennedy was shot, how different things would be. Or just had cell phones. If everyone had a freaking smartphone and there was a million different, video, because there's so much. There's like just from so much intelligence is just from people in the crowd. But there are literal government officials, that are saying this is these questions need to be answered. They are using the word like deep state, or this was on purpose, or they're the ones saying, and they're the ones that are asking the questions. The fact that they made that chick resign, she was like, I'm not resigning.
Surprising.
She went before Congress, and AOC and everybody was like, no. And they were using real words. Like, I think you need to be under arrest for contempt, or for this. I think you perjured yourself when you said this. We've caught you. And that one woman was like, I move that she's arrested for this and that she's prosecuted. And that woman was gone. She's like, oh my God, this is actually not regular theater.
I will tell you, I think the key to unity is Israel. Because you look at AOC, I'm impressed as hell with some of those. And I was like, I would never be impressed with that. But she has more courage than 98% of all the freaking Republicans.
Yeah.
To say
She's also got her own independent following separate from the party, which helps
She
her.
hit the nail on the head when she was talking. She said, you made us doubt the fact that you could keep the president safe. And then she followed up, you made us feel unsafe.
Right.
Because you're in charge of like our safety, and that's not okay.
Yeah,
Because now I could get hurt.
It's obvious.
That's the narcissist right there talking.
Yeah. But that's what mattered.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Well, you think
know-
about it too, though. If the other side has the keys, they could do the same thing to us, I guess. Then it's at that point it becomes, wait a minute, there is a reason to have a legitimate, professional capability, right? Not political, right? So.
Well,
You know-
and there's also, I think, a strong point to be made about the independent action of the administrative state here. They acted this way without talking to anybody in Congress. This is not some order that was
Look at the
obeyed
SEC.
by some cabal. This was
Yeah,
this
the
was their
SEC.
independent choice.
There's no oversight. Yeah, there's no oversight because they're all paid, but they're all paid off. They're all owned by the same groups that has these vested interests. It's like, oh, we want to bring this.
They were
power,
sending
we
a
want
message
there.
with this unity to the rest of the administrative state to say, you better remember that we have masters here, even if you don't have to obey the president.
Yep.
My take is you're really at a pretty strong crossroads there. If you think of it, okay, for those that think that Donald Trump is part of the deep state, blob, whatever you call it, intel super state, whatever you want to call it, then was this an attempt to make him, rise up and in the polls and win the election because that fist up, or was that just his natural, I'm going to fight this because of all the lawfare that's been going on, and he's now have a stronger fighting spirit. But then but then he selects J.D. Vance and he talks about Jamie Dimon being the Secretary of Treasury and some of these other. You really kind of makes you wonder. But then you also kind of go back and look at it and say, how could this roof been unprotected, and could the Secret Service be that inept? It leaves a lot of questions. It
the
really
courage was an. Have you guys ever read? Who here has been on stage? Like whoever has actually had an audience and been on stage?
Yeah.
Joe, you know that you have this weird energy connection with people in an audience when you're performing, right? And if that gets interrupted because someone tries to shoot you and what you're noticing around you is panic and disarray and dismay, you're going to react to that backflow of energy, right? I think that's exactly what we watched.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's just weird. I mean, if you saw the quasi assassination attempt in 20, sorry, in 20 when he was on stage, somebody had, I can't remember if it was a knife. They had something, and it was much more historically what we've seen, where Secret Service surrounds and just yanks them out of the way, like they're gone, right? That's what you saw then. This one, it's like, oh, they surrounded him and they let him do this thing, and there's a flag flying. It's WWF is a big stage thing, and it's like, okay, that's weird. It's like, oh yeah, there's a shooting. It's like, he has blood. It's like, let him stand there for a little bit. It's a campaign moment. It's like, that's bullshit. I don't believe any of that. So,
well, I think I think I've already made that prediction. But Harris, Biden's not going to make it till November. She's to try to win the election. They're going to go ahead and put her as president prior to the election date, so that she's been president. And I think because of him raising his fist and that defiance had such a strong appeal that anyone that was thinking about running against Trump is saying, well, no, I guess I'm not going to, other than somebody whose clock is ticking like Hillary. That's kind of my feeling is. But I said months ago that I thought that Donald Trump made a deal with the devil, if you will, because art of the deal, he's a deal maker with the deep state. And that's partially why, Thiel had J.D. Vance and Thiel meet with him in Mar-a-Lago to smooth things over, because J.D. Vance was a never Trumper, et cetera, et cetera. And then he gets selected, which is sad, because if Trump is really anti-deep state, the last person you would want his backup is J.D. Vance, I would think, because now that's a threat.
Right now, he's demonstrated he's demonstrated an alignment with the NatCon faction, which is about taking the One Ring and using it against the enemy, and it's not going to work. Those weapons don't work for us. That's my worry.
What's your thoughts, Lisa?
I just think that it's like Joe was saying, it was way too hokey, fake movie, the whole thing, and then choosing JD Vance once again.
Yes.
He's bringing those people into the spotlight, and he's also choosing somebody of the dying corporation of America that we're not going to get to the election. Like, and I say I don't want to be any part of that corrupt corporation. But I think that is what's being shown to everyone is all the corruption within it, so that they can accept and mourn the death of.
Creating a strong divide between the state and the country, I think, and the fact that Vance was picked, I don't know about this guy. I like his story. He seems like a really interesting person. I don't think that that in him you're going to find somebody who is going to be able to turn down the ring. He's not the kind of guy who could cast it into the fire. He's going to keep it. And I just worry that what we've done is allow ourselves to be subverted with that. But
Greg, I just challenge you on JD Vance's history. I want you to look at Whitney Webb's research and his background with his connection with Teal. And
interesting.
Yeah, you really need to look at that, because that's how he became senator, was simply by Teal's pumping the money into his campaign. That's how he came out.
I know this is an unpopular opinion. I know this is an unpopular opinion, but I kind of like Teal. So,
I mean, I used to before I knew. I have to admit that.
Not a fan of Palantir, but I like the guy.
Man, yeah, I don't know. I mean, whatever you know about him is probably fake, but I don't know. Vance blows my mind. He could have picked so many. There's so many good freedom-seeking people that he could have picked.
Vivek, I was like 100% on board. I was like, that's it.
You could have picked Vivek, Rand Paul. If Massey would have been the best. He's probably the only one there with courage.
But Massey and Trump have gotten into it. They've had some arguments.
Yeah, well, why? Because it's Zion Dawn. That's what they call him on 4chan, and I never quite got it until now. And in 2016, he didn't accept any of that money because he was independent. Now he's taken $100 million from the Adelsons. He's taken any money he can from So it's just like he might as well just be the same as all the rest of them. The whole government's going to be owned.
The plane's crashing, he's just pulling up on the stick a little bit with more force than Biden was.
Hey, Robert in the chat, Greg, Robert said.
Did you guys hear Netanyahu talking about Biden and what a good Zionist he is?
No, did he use that word? Did he use the word Zionist?
He actually did. Yes.
Wow. That's the fact that
I heard it. I heard
this
speech.
Really blows my mind.
He said he was a proud Zionist.
I am for I am. You said something about your friends saying that you're, when you're telling me you're an anarchist. When I tell people I'm an anarchist, one of my best friends, so almost an anarchist, he's like, so you're one of those like Antifa people? And I was like, dude, you know me. You know I'm not. And I was trying to explain it to him. And Jim was talking about Jeff Berwick, and he's been talking about all this stuff. Like it's a movie, When I talked to Berwick, we both kind of agree that there's it's like everyone really is an anarchist at heart, and you start out as a really young person and with all these ideals, and you think, it's helping people in communism, and then you slowly see things like capitalism, the free market. You become more and more conservative. And you become more conservative and more conservative, and then you become libertarian. And in the end, you realize it's just, government suck. You know what I mean? But we all just need to get along.
Groups of people make bad decisions even when they're filled with smart individuals.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yep. I don't know what else. Mr. Beast's pal was exposed for grooming or pedophilia and stuff like that.
Mr. Beast's what?
His
co-host, co-workers. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. How about the Japanese Ninja video game by Ubisoft? It's Assassin's Creed. but they made him a black ninja instead of a Japanese person. And for some reason, all the regular rules where you can't, I couldn't wear an Indian headdress because that would be improper for me as a white person, right? But for them, it's okay to have to change history and stuff. And the Japanese backlash has been crazy, and Ubisoft's trying to get out of it. It's this whole, it's kind of funny. Anyway,
Backfiring.
yeah,
That is
it all
interesting.
backfired. That's a big one.
Janet Yellen just announced committing $687 million to the pandemic fund to help prevent the next pandemic.
The next one, the next planned one, I guess, right?
The next planned one, yeah. They're planning.
Is that the
ahead.
one that the Biden just got over, by the way?
Maybe. I don't know.
Or was that still COVID-19? I don't
He
know.
got over it as soon as he stepped down, from running.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was all
Stress.
just that was all negotiation.
Oh,
It was all negotiate. I want, nothing happens, Hunter. I want, nothing happens to me. I want so much money. I'm out.
here's one. Here's one. Did anyone see that ISIS is now at war with Hamas? Did you guys see that ISIS is speaking out and threatening Hamas? Isn't that odd?
Just
I have a
odd.
meme here. I'm not going to show, but
I think it's
very weird.
crazy that Russia, which everyone said they were going to do, has went and attacked a country 1,000 miles away from Ukraine. They're escalating the conflict. They're totally. Oh wait, no, that was Israel. They attacked Yemen. That's why I got mixed up. So yeah, they went. What? I mean, they sent jets. They bombed the crap out of Yemen. Like, aren't that to me? That's like it's so in your face.
Well, there you go. That's the other issue of your tax dollars going to the war mechanism, right?
Yeah.
And that they're attacked, and the constant endless wars from the endless printing machines of money. You want to call it money, currency, whatever you want to call it.
Unlimited money.
Fiat, yeah. So that's the real issue here, and that was another thing that kind of threw me off with J.D. Vance, kind of sparking the ideas of a neocon.
Yep.
Zelensky did say we need to end this war as soon as possible, literally like 2 hours after Biden stepped down. It was literally 2 hours.
It's also tiring.
His ladder was a really small ladder.
I know.
The idea of it being that tall, long ladder at the side of the building was wrong.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
a short ladder that was put on top of an AC vent or a cabinet.
Yeah.
But the cabinet, supposedly, if it's the plastic cabinet, it can only support 20 pounds on top.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Well,
No,
no,
There's a lot of really,
what did the police climb up there with on then?
What's
Because
that?
the cop climbed up on
They
there.
hoisted.
and he-
They did like a.
hoisted.
Yep.
So he kind of like boosted him, and he had both hands to pull himself over, and that's when supposedly Crook's pointed the gun at him. Now Crook knows he's got to get a shot off.
But see, that's
because
it.
it's
That's
down.
when they go in and they pull it. And that's what and that's another thing, when Kennedy was assassinated, the snipers weren't a real thing. They really came into being in Vietnam. It wasn't a very big, and now there's so many retired or people that have gotten out that are literal experts, like your neighbor, people down the street. Oh, he was a sniper. You know what I mean? So all of these people like literally know what they're talking about when it comes to this. And they're like, oh, that's completely wrong. That's insane. And I forget, I think it was Dan Bongino or someone's like, look, if there's something that's thought to be messed up, they move in immediately and they're like, stop this right now. There's a threat of something. They stop it, and they didn't stop it. When the cops said, "Hey, he pointed a gun at me," that should have been it. They all should have then converged and took him out. And that's one of the big questions as to why they didn't do that.
Well, I mean, or why one of the snipers that had no requirement to ask for engagement rights before, like they were weapons free, right? Like any one of those snipers could have just unilaterally pulled the trigger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of that video
people-
didn't even make sense. They had him sighted and didn't do anything. You know, it was like, oh,
Speaking of sighted, I mean,
Well,
you
what
guys-
makes
I don't know
sense
if
is
you guys
they
are
let
gun
him do
guys,
it.
but
Yeah.
he didn't have a scope.
I know it was metal.
He has a 1X red dot. That's
Huh.
it. It's not. He didn't even have a scope.
Huh.
I
Yeah.
know. And there's so many questions, and
I've
that's
heard
what I was
iron
getting ready
sights.
to
I've
say.
heard red dot. I don't know which it is, right? But
Let's face it, the FBI and the Secret Service are elements within those organizations were involved in Kennedy's assassination. I think that's plain and clear, right?
yeah, or-
So why wouldn't it be the same today, to try to take out Trump? If the lawfare failed, impeachment failed,
Mhm.
Right. Well, and they probably had
but-
some inkling then, like this was after the debate too. Like they had some inkling that they were pretty hosed on their pet pony. So
Yep.
So
And by the way-
I think their next step is to try to make, if they can't stop him, then they're going to try to control the House and the Senate, bring up different forms of impeachment for whatever reason. But more importantly, I think what they're going to do is they're going to really wreck the economy to make the public turn on him.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I think so.
That's already set. That's
if
everybody
he is
knows it's gonna
anti-deep
happen.
state, if he's anti-deep state,
we're about to head into Wymerica, and it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And he's gonna be the guy there, and it's like, well, it's
You know,
crazy.
I've been
well, I think
looking-
the first
I've
thing
been-
that's going to happen though is they're going to try to use the propaganda machine they use to sell, all the things they've used to sell so far. The current thing engine is going to switch heavily towards legitimizing Harris.
that's what they're doing now. They're totally
Right. That's
pushing
why.
it.
That's why. Like you start to see
It's
polls come out where they
Yeah,
they
we're
poll like mostly
2% ahead.
Democrats, and whoa, it's a crazy thing. She's
She's
already
probably
won.
2% ahead of him now.
Well,
So
I mean, but
think
the polls are broken.
It's all a circus.
They're
That's the
Polled
thing.
more
So,
Democrats.
I've been
than
studying.
anybody
I've been
else.
studying the Civil War, and not just ours, but a lot of other ones in like first world countries. And the main thing is, even in the United States, especially, everyone is like, we didn't see this coming. Nobody thought this was going to happen. And to us, to look back, it's like slavery and this, and of course, it's obvious to us. No, like no one sees it coming, and then it happens all of a sudden. It's like the George Floyd thing. Like it's just one little thing that sets everything off, and everything goes crazy.
yeah.
And
yeah,
we're
that's a
moving,
nice choice, though.
but we're moving towards that. And people, it's like, oh, it can't happen. It can't happen. And then all of a sudden, Idaho secedes because their movement to have the part of Oregon wants to move over there, and it's like, oh, you can't do it because the government keeps ignoring the laws. And like I said, it takes months, and then you go to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court says, no, you've been doing this illegal thing. You've been doing this thing against the Constitution. No, you can't do that. It's overreach, which means breaking the law. It just means a government agency broke the law, and they call it overreach. It's
right. Overreach. Like
it's a nice word.
It ought to be something a lot more malicious. And
Yeah.
it probably ought to have some direct redress. Why are there no direct
should.
police
It's like-
policing overreach?
It's like I said, it's like date rape. It's like, oh, it's not as bad because you got a meal and a movie. It's
Right.
just you're an agency who had authority and you broke the law.
Is that why the death penalty is okay? Because like they murder you, but they feed you first.
Yeah, maybe. Man. Man, I don't know. The whole thing's messed up. It's all a circus. So
It
we
is.
should just probably enjoy ourselves watching its downfall, and hope that that we'll be alive still to help make a better.
The remedy is parallel systems always has been, and for that to really work, for them to be powerful, the first thing must collapse under its own weight, right? We're not really here to save the world. We're here to build a better one after it fails to save itself inevitably.
We didn't say anything about, and it's not the biggest story in the world, but the downfall of Jordan Peterson, right? That's an interesting one.
I don't know about that.
I don't know, is he down? Is he really down?
Is he?
He basically is total hypocrite. I mean, he's like clean your room, but he's doing drugs, and now you can't call people or rats, but I'm going to call you a rat, and it's just a bunch of BS. He's nothing about being rational. It's all just,
he's taking the ring.
Well,
he's trying to use it.
It's not. It isn't that. It might be that, but they got.
I don't know about
what they did. They got him on drugs. Is my theory. So it's just a theory, right?
Mhm.
But they got him on drugs.
Interviewing Elon
doing
Musk like 2 days ago. You're not really down though, are you?
And it's obvious because it's like Hal in 2001. It's like he has this split where you know what he stands for, but he's not doing that anymore, and it's because something else.
Elon Musk interview was pretty hardcore, man.
Must we demand of people who speak things we like to hear that they adhere to what they speak perfectly? Is I think an interesting question. If he's serving a useful purpose of spreading an idea, and
he did,
his actions don't tend to undermine it, right? Really, he just needs to take a helping of his own advice.
What about what in that interview that Peterson did with Elon, and how he straight up said they killed my son, and now I'm going to kill the mine, because that's the one thing that when we were talking about privacy coins and government overreach and government, how it's all like that's one of the things that changed in the last election when school boards messed with parents who they were terrorists because they went to school board meetings, and that's when shit changed, when they messed with people's kids.
Well, it's the ultimate voting block, right?
That's when the moms stood up.
If you lose the parents.
But so when I heard Elon say that they killed my son, by having me sign that and the puberty blockers and all that, and now I'm going to destroy the woke mind virus, it really opened up a lot. That's something. I mean, I don't think there's a question as to his motives. I mean, that's why he spent bajillions of dollars on Twitter. That's why he's throwing it. He doesn't care, because they messed with his kid. The culture, the whatever you want to say, he is completely.
You tell me then, because I love Musk, I love SpaceX, I love Tesla, I love all the stuff he's doing. He's improved Twitter vastly, right? But tell me this: how in the world does it make any sense in a normal line of where the ADL comes after him, threatens to basically take down Twitter, basically threatens all the advertisers to steal him of money so that he can't keep Twitter going because he's allowing people to talk, right? So how do you go from that? Because it was like that was heroic. It was courageous for him to say, "Screw you, or I'm going to sue you." You can't do that. It's illegal to do what they were doing.
Right. It's called the cartel.
Right. And immediately, though, within weeks, he's taking a tour through Europe. He's in Israel with Netanyahu, looking at cribs of supposedly murdered babies, and along with Ben Shapiro in tow, watching his every move. It's like, what the hell? What freaking clown world do we live in?
Well, I mean, or it was
manipulating. I think they were manipulating.
Or it was an astute PR step, right? You have to play politics if you wish to engage.
Okay, well, then he bans Lucas Gage. He allows that to happen. He bans other people that are saying certain things just because they're saying them. No threats. There have been multiple people like this, so you can't tell me, oh no, he's fully on the up.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not saying that's on the up. What I'm saying is that if you want to be a force in the conversation he's trying to be a force in, you may have to sacrifice some of your autonomy to a certain degree, because you can't depend on all sides, right?
Yeah.
Joe, you hit the nail on the head, though. That's why we need a decentralized social media that becomes the dominant force out there.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly you're talking about centralization versus decentralization, and that's your solution.
Right.
Well, and
If
they
it
let
didn't
you
matter
think
what he
that
did
your
because you can
voice
change your
matters.
filters, right?
What was that, Lisa?
If they make you think that, like, I think that I'm tweeting and I think that people are going to see what I'm posting and whatever. Well, then the other day I was on a different computer, logged in as a different entity, and I went to my Twitter account, and like barely anything I post is on there. It's missing stuff, whatever. Like, I'm like, oh, this is what I look like to the public. This is not what I post.
Huh.
Exactly. I've
Try
seen
it
it
sometime.
too.
Go
and
log in as
they've
a
admitted
different
this
entity.
too.
It's part of the. Remember when she said free speech but limited reach?
Right, which
So
was the ultimate
only
attack on
those
free
that-
speech.
Yes, only those that actually subscribe to your channel or agree, have are following you, is where your reach goes, and that's where it stops. That's the end of your reach.
I don't even think it goes that far. I seriously, like, try it sometime. Go log in as.
Well, I mean, and that was
and look at
examples
your
of
own
that
profile.
is Beatles. Beatles was like huge, and he was like the biggest influencer in crypto, and just slowly he had nothing, and now he'll post something. And I'm the only person that likes it. I don't even
really,
or like anything about the more revolutionary elements of crypto have a magical way of getting caught up in the spam filters to head off junk meme coins, right? Like there's obviously still censorship, right? It's not a perfect system, and the only way you get a system that's perfectly free of censorship is one where the algorithm is open source and you can choose a different open source algorithm if you don't like the one you got.
Yep, that's the way it should be. It should be you should be open with choice. And you might pick one that I would.
It's
pick.
a
That's all good.
freer platform, but it ain't free. I guess would be a
Right,
simple way to put it.
right, right, and it is centralized.
Yeah, and that's
Look at
why
this.
it's not free.
And it's a publicly traded company, therefore it has other baggage that's attached to it.
This is one of my favorite memes recent that I found.
Private company now. It's not publicly traded.
It was very brilliant.
Yeah.
We don't want those Arabic numerals. That was awesome. Let's see here. We're getting close to the end of time, right? Both in real life and on the show here. So this is probably my favorite. This is what I'll end with. This meme right here, coming up. Before you judge Trump, walk a mile in
I
his
love
shoes. This one was funny. Anyway, that one was funny to me. I thought this was funny. Okay. I am very interested to see what's happening with Netanyahu and their whole, if it's a real fight back and forth. If Trump, so you guys. Oh, by the way, I guess that'd be a clear thing to ask. Is Trump going to win? Is Harris going to win? What do you guys think?
I think Harris is going to, whoever they put up. I think it's so bad that it's like the government can do
Harris
whatever they want.
can't run. She's not. She's an anchor baby. Her parents were not American citizens. She cannot.
Running, that's my
She's
point.
not running technically. And the other thing is that nobody has talked about. They've stolen the vote or the voice of the American people.
Yeah, and nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
No, not that nobody cares. Nobody has any power or authority.
He's a nominee.
The last bastion of this country that's been held together is the Supreme Court. I've said that for so long. That's just the way it is. The government does whatever it wants to do, and there's nothing you can do about it except get to the Supreme Court so that they can scold whoever it is. And that's it. That's the way it was. And with the election, the way it was last time, once it closes, it's done. It's over.
Or less than 100 days or something like that.
Yeah, they don't care who the primary was.
But I don't think
it's obvious that the DNC can just put whoever they want to there. There's campaign laws that are like they have to get a bunch more money, so that was like, but it doesn't. Nothing matters anymore. It doesn't. And I think that's the thing that people need to understand, and people are getting that. So I don't think Trump's going to win. I think that I think he will win, but I think he's going to, on paper, numbers lose. Whether or not that pushes us to what it's going to have to, we all have said it has to fall.
Well, here's a point. When he raised his fist, everyone thought he was unbeatable, but now maybe not.
I think it's
because
true. I
the
think he's still
machine's going to
unbeatable.
be pumping up Harris,
Yeah,
right?
I think all of the
in
polls were
we're
fake.
probably-
I think the money is illegally.
I think
it
she's a
doesn't matter.
post-election play, man.
What-
She's a post-election play.
If Trump
Her
had been
defeat will rile up the Antifas.
If they
if
can
Trump had
make
been
a,
taken out, if Trump
if
had been
they-
taken out, would it have been a civil war? Will it be a civil war at November 6th?
I don't know. I think people are too complacent.
I think that her defeat will be the rallying cry of the Antifas again, and I think that what we need to prepare for is the chaos that will come when he does win.
That's
not
true.
necessarily
That's probably a
the
good point.
idea.
And by the way, all funded and not even real, even that stuff. But I mean, I think he's gonna win. I think all the rules are fake, but I'm not gonna vote.
Go take pictures of your favorite
I'm not
stores
voting for any of
downtown
these
right
people.
now because the boards are going back up.
Yeah, I'm not going to vote for any of these people, and that'll be the most interesting thing to see how many people don't vote, because just checking out of this clown show. I don't want anything to do with it.
This is the answer. This is the answer. This is the equivalent of withdrawing one's support. If you want to be Lebwetti, right? Then be Lebwetti by not voting and spending your money where you choose.
Yep.
I
So
think,
we have.
I think 2029 will be that's it. That's when
Oh God,
things.
it's too long. I'm tired of waiting for this shit. That's why I was like, I'll move. I'll come. Maybe I'll come back when everything starts happening. I'm just joking. I can't afford or have the time or the energy to move out of the country. But anyway, or ever again. But okay, 2 minutes each. Lisa, what's going on this week?
Well, I've been moving a lot of furniture, so I missed my show with Sean. I missed my show with I missed all kinds of stuff. So go follow my friends because they're able to put some content up. Follow Satoshi Sean. Get on Din Social. Follow I am for I am, and contribute yourself, because we need all the voices out there that we can find.
Right on, Greg.
I would say today I'm announcing my support for a new candidate, Aragorn, son of Arathorn. I think he should fill every seat. I strongly encourage everyone to write him in for every position because now is the time of the king, and I think we need to make it happen.
Yes, you have my sword. I am for I am.
All right, I want everyone to do a short squeeze, buy silver. Go check us out on din.social and follow Lisa's channel. She has good content. And I missed Truth Tuesday with you two this past week. Follow Sean, follow everybody. And remember, agorism. Counter economics wins.
Sean.
Cool theory.
Me and Lisa are doing happy hour tomorrow. I can't drink because I'm on the Atkins diet. I saw something that really interested the Blaze, which the Blaze is like ultra conservative, and it was whoever the guy is that owns it, but the title was "Biden is not fit to rule." The word rule, I mean, just rubbed it the wrong way. Yeah. So
rule.
I think we're
listen up, ruled. Listen up, the ruled.
We're the end days here, man.
Yeah, because you freaking Texans letting them sell those heifers. I mean, I freaking can't believe it. You tell me I should be walking in and breaking Assange out, and these heifers are right down the freaking street, and you didn't go shoot them? So you could have prevented the end of the freaking world, you guys.
That's not free market, man. We're defending the free market, selling our heifers.
All right. And me, I'm just doing the things. So go follow Dracaria World on X. Right. That's good until I'm banned. Follow me on X too, Jojo Rowe, until they ban me. At some point they will, I'm sure. They'll probably try. My theories are going to try to crucify me. That's just my theory.
You're just going to start posting lots of quinoa recipes.
Oh, I can do that. I could do that. Yeah,
that's what will happen whether you know it or not.
Man, it's so ridiculous. Okay, I think that's it. So we'll see you guys next week. thanks for joining. And we'll have the Dragon Chain Twitter up again next week, I think, as long as I can afford to pay the bill. All right, talk to you guys soon. Bye.
Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best.
Adaptable, all capital, label radical yet rational. A tactical approach is palpable if this animal is fallible, but that conclusion is laughable. So with for all detachable from the mandible, you see it now.